What if the line between fiction and fate has finally disappeared, and a love the world only whispered about has stepped into the light? The words fell like thunder in a silent room.
Calm. Certain.
Unmistakable. I see her as my wife. In that moment, the universe around Dylan Wang and Shen Yue seemed to pause, as if time itself wanted to listen more closely. For years, their names have been linked by glances, timing, coincidences, and a chemistry that refused to fade. Now one sentence has reignited every question fans have carried in their hearts since the very beginning. Was this always where the story was heading? Right now, right before the next revelation, is your chance to stay connected. Subscribe to the channel so you never miss another powerful story, another shocking twist, or another unforgettable journey. This is not just a tale of two celebrities. It is a chronicle of a connection that survived distance, careers, rumors, and the relentless scrutiny of fame. A story written quietly between scenes, interviews, and unguarded moments the cameras were never meant to catch. Their journey began under studio lights, where scripted lines somehow felt too real to ignore. From their first shared scenes, something different flickered between them. Not the loud spark of publicity-driven romance, but a slow burn. A familiarity. The kind of understanding that cannot be rehearsed. Viewers felt it instantly. Not because they were told to, but because it showed in the pauses, in the way their eyes searched for each other even after the director called cut. As their careers soared, so did the questions. Why did they always seem comfortable in each other's orbit? Why did mentions of one inevitably lead to smiles when the other's name appeared? Why did timing keep pulling them back into the same conversations, the same spaces, the same chapters? For a long time, both chose silence. And silence, in the world of celebrity, speaks loudly. Dylan Wang grew from a rising star into a global name, carrying the weight of expectation with effortless confidence. Shen Yue became the face of warmth and emotional depth, beloved for her sincerity both on and off screen. They stood on different stages, yet something invisible kept drawing a line between them. A line fans traced again and again, hoping it meant more than coincidence. Then came the shift. Subtle at first. A tone change. A pause before answering certain questions. An openness that had not been there before. Dylan spoke about love not as an idea, but as a destination. Not someday, but with clarity. With intention. And then came the words that changed everything. I see her as my wife. Not a fleeting crush. Not a hypothetical future. A statement rooted in certainty. In commitment. In vision. For those who have followed this story from the beginning, it felt less like a surprise and more like a revelation finally spoken aloud. As if the truth had always been there, waiting for the right moment to surface. But what makes this moment so powerful is not the declaration itself. It is the weight behind it. In an industry where relationships are often blurred by strategy and spectacle, choosing to speak with such personal conviction is a risk. It opens the door to judgment, speculation, and pressure. Yet Dylan's words carried no hesitation. Only calm resolve. Shen Yue, ever private, has not responded with grand statements. Instead, she has remained exactly who she has always been. Grounded, graceful, steady. And in that restraint, many see the quiet confidence of someone who does not need to explain what is already real. Love does not always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it reveals itself in consistency, in presence, in choosing the same person again and again, even when the world is watching. This story resonates because it feels human. Two people navigating fame while protecting something fragile and sacred. Two lives intersecting not for convenience, but for meaning. Whether or not the future unfolds the way fans dream, one truth stands undeniable. Whatever exists between Dylan Wang and Shen Yue is not casual. It is not careless. And it is not fleeting. Perhaps that is why this moment feels cinematic. Not because it is perfect, but because it is honest. So the question remains. Was this always destiny quietly finding its way forward? Or are we witnessing the beginning of a chapter that will redefine what love looks like under the brightest lights? One sentence has been spoken. And the echo is still unfolding. And yet, that sentence was only the opening frame, not the full picture. Because when Dylan Wang said he sees Shen Yue as his wife, he did not just speak about love. He spoke about time, about patience, about a future imagined long before it was ever voiced aloud. Words like those are never born in a moment. They are formed slowly, shaped by shared silence, by unseen support, by choosing someone even when the world offers countless distractions. To understand the weight of that declaration, you have to rewind the story to the moments no headline ever captured. Between projects, between flights, between the chaos of schedules that rarely align, there were choices being made. Choices to protect privacy. Choices to stay grounded. Choices to let something real grow without forcing it into the spotlight. In an industry that thrives on exposure, restraint becomes its own language. And both Dylan and Shen Yue have spoken it fluently. Those close to them have often hinted at the same truth. Dylan is different when her name comes up. Less performative. More present. Shen Yue, usually careful with words, softens in ways that cannot be coached. These are not behaviors crafted for cameras. They are reflexes. And reflexes do not lie. What makes this love story resonate so deeply is that it mirrors something universal. The idea that love does not always arrive loudly. Sometimes it arrives early, then waits. Sometimes it meets you before you are ready, then grows alongside you until you are. Fans have long debated whether their connection was a beautiful coincidence or a carefully guarded reality. But perhaps the answer has always been simpler. Perhaps it was just two people who met at the wrong time, then spent years becoming the right versions of themselves. Dylan Wang today is not the same man who first shared a screen with Shen Yue. Success has sharpened him, tested him, matured him. And yet, in speaking about her, there is no ego. Only certainty. Seeing someone as your wife is not about romance alone. It is about partnership, about weathering storms together, about choosing stability over spectacle. And Shen Yue, whose strength has always lived quietly beneath her gentleness, has never chased narratives. She has never rushed to define herself through anyone else, which makes the possibility of this love even more compelling. It feels chosen, not needed, not forced. Chosen. As the world waits for confirmations, appearances, or future milestones, it is worth remembering that the most meaningful stories rarely unfold on schedule. Love does not owe anyone proof. It only owes honesty to the people living inside it. Maybe there will be a day when they stand together and say more. Or maybe they never will. Maybe the truth is already complete in the calm of that single sentence. I see her as my wife. Not as a promise to the public, but as a compass pointing forward. And if this really is the beginning of their next chapter, then it is not a fairy tale written for applause. It is something far rarer. A love that waited. A love that endured. A love that chose its moment. And the world is still holding its breath, watching the rest of the story unfold.